Hello, BookTube. I have mail once again. A nice, healthy amount. Not anywhere near what we used to get in our glory days, but certainly more than nothing. A number of packages, including a couple of boxes. So I thought we'd just go through them together. So, first one is tiny. It's a tiny little thing. It seems too small to be a book. Could be a present from one of you. That has been a steady characteristic of these latter-day 2020 mail hauls is presents from all of you, which is making me feel kind of self-conscious. Oh no. Oh, goodness gracious, no. No. I know on the surface this might look like a present from Sarah at Steeped in Books, my fellow booktuber, Sarah, who is a romance booktuber who has, let's just say, a soft spot for modern cowboy romances. She tends to like them. And you might think on the surface that this is a present from her, but no, this is a present from myself. I ordered this online because I like the look of it in more ways than one. I thought since she has already got me reading cowboy romances, I might as well. This is a Harlequin Blaze novel. Another thing I love about Sarah's channel is that she's an unabashed fan of Harlequin romances. And Harlequin romances have given me a lot of great reading experiences over the years. So, and this is a cowboy romance. This is Cowboy Strong by Kelly Ireland. And I think I became aware of this because it came up. I had already Googled or I'd already searched on Amazon for Cowboy Strong by, what's her name? Brown? Sharon Brown? I forget her first name. I think her last name is Brown. Sarah would know. Who does contemporary cowboy romances. And there was the same title. There's a new title of a new book called Cowboy Strong, whereas this is a decade old. Yes? 2016, so 5 years old, 4 years old. This came up, and I haven't read a Harlequin Blaze in so long, and I liked the plot description, I liked the cover, so I ordered it. It was nothing. It was almost no money at all. So that's interesting. I will pop that down like a bonbon today. This next one is from someone named Mark Richardson. Sounds like trouble with a capital T. What have we got here? Oh, I know what this is. He's so nice, I swear. Oh, wow, look at that. Mark Richardson is a fellow booktuber. Richardson reads. He lives in Vermont, tiny town in Vermont, and Vermont has of course been spared the worst of this pandemic. So they've had their soft reopening of shops. They've had all that kind of phase one stuff that Boston is hesitating to do. And one of the things that is one of the little pieces of normality that has at least begun to return to his life is his comic shop. His comic shop has reopened for I don't remember if it's curbside delivery or if you go right in or what. But I know that his comic shop is back in business for him. And so I sort of forlornly asked if he could maybe look for some issues that I have missed while my comic shops here in Boston have been closed, specifically the Legion of Superheroes. A superpowered team of teenagers 1,000 years in the future, a great property in DC Comics that was in abeyance for a long time, and then DC finally decided to revive the Legion just in time for a worldwide pandemic. They gave it to Brian Michael Bendis, who is a showboating superstar comic book creator who usually does terrible work that I can't stand at all. Every once in a while he'll do something that I like, but my heart was in my throat knowing that DC Comics, that the powers that be at DC Comics, his editors and their bosses in corporate, told him, you can have this, do whatever you want with it. You don't have to toe any line at all. You don't have to look at any kind of continuity. You can remake it. Now, I myself have been reading the Legion forever, since they debuted a long time ago, and I don't think they need remaking. I think the original idea of a gigantic team of superpowered teenagers is perfectly fine, but I haven't completely hated Bendis's remake of it. I haven't completely hated it. It's had an energy that I kind of like, and so I was buying it month by month, and then my comic shop closed down. But Marx has recently reopened, and he got me Legion of Superheroes number 4 and number 5. That is Brainiac 5 saying, I think we're going to need all of them as they look at prospective Legionnaires. I mean, I will read these and see whether or not they annoy me, whether or not whether or not I really like them, whether or not I like the creative team. Of course, the original creative team isn't going to last very long, I'm sure, is not part of these things, but thank you very much, Mark. I have comic books to read. How do you like that? Fantastic. Okay, all right, now let's move on. Now we have a package. This one is taped all to heck and gone, so this is not from a publisher. This could be aside from Cowboy Strong, which was, I admit, such a small thing that I forgot about it. There's one online order that I did, one used book order that I made that hasn't come in yet. And it's very late, so I haven't asked around with experts on online ordering to find out if maybe sometimes they just disappear completely. But it's very late, it hasn't shown up yet, and this could be it, because it seems like it's on... No, this isn't it. This is something else. This is a gift. I don't know. This has got to stop. You people are so generous. You are so generous. I have been doing a TBR series on this channel where I talk about all the new books that I've received and sort of retroactively rank them, retroactively discuss them a bit. And I've mentioned a couple of times on that series that some of these books I no longer have, and I don't know why, because I wish I did. And some of you have been taking it upon yourself to say, well, that means that he has identified a book that he would like to get in the mail. And that's not why I was doing that. And here we have another example. This is Barry Turner. This is Karl Donitz, The Last Days of the Third Reich. This is the second Fuhrer, the second leader of the Third Reich. Admiral Donitz was Hitler's chosen successor. And was the guy who actually surrendered who presided over the end of the Third Reich. And I thought this was a really good book, a really, really well-balanced, intelligently researched book. And so when I found it in my TBR, I was a little wistful that I didn't have a copy, because I can't imagine who I would give it to. I can't imagine why I would get rid of it. It's a keeper. And the whole point about keepers is that you're supposed to keep them. But I didn't. And one of you, thank you so much, you know who you are, you left a very nice note. One of you took it upon yourself to have this sent to me. So I'm almost getting used to it. Almost getting used to egregious gifts in the mail. But anyway, we've got 2 more boxes here, and then we'll be done with the day's mail. Bean, it is way too warm for you to be attacking cardboard, little girl. Do you really want to destroy this? Are you sure you really want to destroy this? I take it she does. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness gracious. I thought she was exhausted, but apparently not. What have we got here? Oh. Okay, this is new. I don't have a pub sheet. I have an invoice, but I don't have a pub sheet. Okay. This is Europa Editions, but it's a hardcover. And this is, I believe, a 2020 release. Yes, 2020. Okay, this is Joseph O'Connor, and this is a novel called Shadow Play, in hardcover from Europa Editions. And we can certainly read about it. We don't need a pub sheet. We can just read straight from the book. Set during the golden age of the West End theater in a London shaken by the crimes of Jack the Ripper, Shadow Play is a gripping novel of love, celebrity, and ambition by New York Times bestselling author Joseph O'Connor. Henry Irving is Victorian London's most celebrated actor and theater impresario. He has introduced groundbreaking ideas to the theater, bringing to the stage performances that are spectacular, shocking, and always entertaining. When Irving decides to open his own London theater with the goal of making it the greatest playhouse on earth, he hires a young Dublin clerk harboring literary ambitions. Anybody tell me ahead of time who that is? By the name of Bram Stoker, to manage it. As Irving's theater grows in reputation and financial solvency, he lures to his company of mummers the century's most beloved actress, the dazzling, talented leading lady, Ellen Terry, who nightly casts a spell not only on her audiences, but on Stoker and Irving both. Bram Stoker's extraordinary experiences at the Lyceum Theatre, his early morning walks on the streets of a London terrorized by a serial killer, his long, tempestuous relationship with Irving, and the closeness of his friends he finds with Ellen Terry, inspired a novel that will become the most iconic, best-selling supernatural tale ever published. A portrait both of lamplit London and of the lives enacted on the stage, Shadow Play's rich prose, incomparable storytelling, and vivid characters will linger in the reader's hearts and minds for years. Okay, all right, a Jack the Ripper novel of a kind, but really a Bram Stoker novel. And Henry Irving, who hasn't had a big biography in America in quite some time. It's been a long, long time. Whereas Bram Stoker did. Famously had a biography called Something in the Blood, which I strongly recommend as a reading experience. All right, great, fantastic, and new. And then we have this last thing. So, a big heavy box could have. Frida, are you not done with that first box? Now you want another one? This could have a big finished copy in it. That would be nice. I have a couple of big advanced copies that I really wish I had finished copies for. Oh no. Oh, this is multiple books. Oh my. Here, baby. I don't want you to touch this. You're overheating. Just sit still. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay. This turned out to be a very good male alpha Steve. The rest of you are going to be bored stiff, but that's the price you pay. Oh, man. Okay. We got some Loeb Classical Library editions, some new Loeb Classical Library editions. How wonderful. Those of you who don't know, the Loeb Classical Library is old. It's over a century old, and what they do is they put out neat little hand-sized hardcover books. Really sturdy hardcover books. I've put some of my Loebs through the terrors of hell, and they hold up just fine. Where you have, it's English and it's Latin and Greek classics. So you will have the Greek volumes have green dust jackets, the Latin volumes have red dust jackets, and you will have the Latin or the Greek on one side and the English on the facing side. And for a century or more, Loeb English translations have had a dodgy reputation as being basically student trots. Not, in other words, translations that are done with the aim of artistry, but rather translations that are designed to accurately reflect what you're seeing on the other side of the page. Very good for students, very useful, but also really useful for just fans of the literature of the classical world, because so many of the Loeb Classical Library editions are the only, or certainly the most readily available commercial translation of their authors. That's not true particularly in these cases, in the cases of the book we got today, but it is often true. But in this case, the authors are fairly well known. I have 4 Greek volumes and 1 Latin volume. First Greek volume is Aristotle, The Art of Rhetoric. Don't know, let's see. This is translated by J.H. Fries and revised by Gisela Stryker. So, okay, so the translation is from 1926, but the revision is from 2020. Okay, great. So there'll be an introduction, a translator's note to let me know the rough idea of the differences of the adaptations. A lot of those 1920s and 30s translations are rock solid. No particular reason to update them, except to keep your line fresh. And then the next 3 volumes here are man, this is incredible. Are Appian, his Roman history, in 3 volumes plus fragments. The fragments are the final volume is fragments from the whole of the work, the parts of the work that we don't have. Fantastic. And this is edited and translated by Brian McGing. Brian McGing. See, there we go. There's volume 1, and then volume 2. What have we got here for? Oh, this is amazing. I'm going to be so hard pressed not to just dive in, and that's not good. What have we got for? Okay, this looks like it's new. I'm not so conversant with the Greek, with most of the Greek Loeb Classical Library editions that I could tell you off the top of the bat who was the translator of Appian that they had before. I probably have a volume here or a set. Okay, but the new translation is by Brian McGing. So this whole thing is a Herculean labor of the whole of the Roman history. Fantastic. Okay, and then Livy. our Latin volume is Livy. We will finish out this mail haul, which is quite the mail haul for Steve. We'll finish this out with Livy. This is books 23 to 25 of the Roman history. This is translated by J.C. Yardley, whose name I seem to remember from something. And is this a new translation? I bet that's why I remember it. I bet it is. Yes, this is a new translation of, let's read a bit here, of the 142 books of Livy's masterwork, his gigantic history of Rome. Conventionally divided into pentads and decades, we have books 1 to 10 and 21 to 45 complete, and short summaries of all the rest except 41 and 43 to 45. 11 to 20 are lost, and the rest only remain in fragments or summaries. The third decade constitutes our fullest surviving account of the momentous Second Punic War, featuring famous gallery of leaders, Roman and Carthaginian and Greek, all memorably drawn. Oh man. This edition of the third decade, which replaces the Loeb original by B.O. Foster and Frank Gardner Moore, offers a text based on the critical editions by John Briscoe and P.G. Walsh, a fresh translation and ample annotation fully current with modern scholarship. Man, oh man. Okay. All right. Okay, if it was going to be a Herculean struggle not to dive into Appian, it's going to be, I'm not even going to make a struggle here. I will read this today. I will read this volume today. So there you go. That is quite the mail. Steve is well pleased. So let's go over it. We have Karl Donitz and the Last Days of the Third Reich. We have Shadowplay by Joseph O'Connor about Henry Irving and Bram Stoker and Ellen Terry and Jack the Ripper. Fantastic. We have, thanks to Mark Richardson and Richardson Reads, The Legion of Superheroes 4 and 5. I will read these right now. And we have Cowboy Strong by Kelly Ireland, a Harlequin Blaze novel that is probably one of the 80 million that's in Sarah's collection. We have, The Art of Rhetoric by Aristotle. We have The Roman History by Appian in a new translation from Loeb Classical Library. And we have books 23 to 25 of the History of Rome by Livy in a new translation, also from the Loeb Classical Library edition. So typical Steve book haul in that it's all over the map, and a typical Steve book haul also in that it's already exciting me. It's going to be hard for me to control myself, so I'm not gonna. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna control myself. So I'm gonna wrap this up and dive into my new toys. But I will see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.